the next person coming up is a good friend of mine. I have had the privilege and the honor of working with him across multiple types of conferences and events. He's super amazing, and he's so knowledgeable, and he's some of the people that walk the same footsteps that we're walking now. Maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, he is a true titan among the consciousness community. And just to go into who he is a little bit, of course, I'm talking about Aage Nost. And Aggie was born on a farm in Norway and came to the US at the age of 25 and became a professional pilot. He did so in a partnership owned, and he also owned a flight school, air taxi, and air courier. And after retiring from flying, he started to studying the mind deeper. He taught the Zox Pro Mind Development course. He is a hypnotist and author of several books, which is one right here. And I'll show that to you because, like I said, I am an avid fan. That is the spiritual science and higher consciousness thinking and how to access the universal consciousness. He was also a TV talk show host for 6 years, a radio talk show host on what is now Broadcast Team Alpha, which if you're not on their YouTube, I suggest you find it. And I'm sure we'll be putting it up in the comments for you to subscribe later on. And he's been teaching self-hypnosis, meditation, psychic abilities, astral projection, astral travel, and universal consciousness principles. So with that being said, I'm going to relieve myself from the stage. I know Aggie has a great presentation for everybody. And Aggie, take it away, my friend.
Hello, hello. Then you can see me and hear me okay?
Yes, we can, sir.
All right, all right, all right. Well, I got coffee in hand and I'm ready to go. So this is good.
Broadcast Team Alpha's mug, I might say.
Say that again?
I said a Broadcast Team Alpha mug. I see there. Very, very nice.
Yeah, good deal. All right. Yes, I can see everybody on the panel here now. So yeah, it looks all right. I am going to I had a little challenge trying to pick something to talk about on this forum. I was thinking about astral travel, and of course, then I decided to do that on the next one. We're going to have the first of the next month here on with the same people. So I'm going to do that then. And I think I'm going to violate some of the rules. And that is, you heard about this, that you talk about religion and politics, you lose half your audience. Well, maybe not, because I think the audience of this forum is a little sharper than the average Joe Blow and Harry Ho handle out there in the radio audience. I actually have been criticized a couple of times for not being serious enough when I talk about serious subjects. Well, I don't see anything wrong with that, because have you guys ever heard that laughter is the best medicine? Well, I am 3/4 of a century old and I'm perfectly healthy. Nothing wrong with me that I know of. So I'm going to continue what I'm doing, having fun at the same time I talk about serious stuff. So I'm going to talk a little bit about quantum mechanics and neuroscience, how those two concepts actually will be able to support the old writings of both religion and spirituality. Because we are growing into an area right now where there is much more science to back up what religion and spirituality talked about in the past. With other words, there will be a day when science and religion and spirituality will live under the same roof. If you go to broadcastteamalpha.com, I did a video on that here. It got very interesting, so you can watch that video over there. And see, in the old days, religion determined science because they declared it. And then religion abandoned science. And now religion is going away for a better understanding of spirituality and religion. And because now science can actually prove that the old tales of religion, some of them, not all of them, but some of them were actually true. Quantum mechanics can actually go as far if you start analyzing the equations and the principles they represent. That you heard of this guy about 1900 and some 90 years ago, he walked on water. Well, you know him as Jesus. I personally have no problem with that concept after I've been studying quantum mechanics, because we are creating everything around us by the way we believe and intend and several other things. So, well, science has also found that not all our thoughts are coming from ourselves. You remember back in the religious textbooks, so-called holy books, they talk to the fact that God speaks to you. Okay. Now there are some research showing that not all our thoughts that come into our mind come from us. They come from somewhere else. So then, who is that? Is that angels? Is that spirit guides? Is that the big guy? You know, the one with the big G? Think about that. If our thoughts that show up in our mind is not our own, who gives those thoughts to us? Probably between angels, spiritual guides, and the big guy, that maybe all of those things outside of the physical is communicating with us in one way or the other. So if we think about that, then goes back to the religious books, and it says God talks to you. Now that concept that something talks to us becomes real, because there is something communicating with us. And if we are not aware enough to listen, it just passes right by us. That's why we need to listen to this little voice in the back of our head, because it talks to us all the time. And half the time, we don't listen. Boy, have I been good at that. Most of the time when I'm not listening, I'm missing out on something, or I make wrong decisions. So some of those thoughts, they do not come from the hippocampus right here where the long-term memory is stored. So it isn't coming from us, even though during the day, about 95% of everything that we think or do or experience is based on memory. But there is 5% that is new creation of thoughts and ideas. And during those 5%, that is where that spiritual information and influence comes in. And that's what we need to listen to. And also, these thoughts, they come from an area they come through in an area of the brain, which actually has been, through research, they've been found to be in the area of the brain that releases spiritual thinking, spiritual thought, or thought transference, because that is also a real concept. And remember in the Bible where Jesus said, "In my Father's house, there are many rooms." Now, quantum mechanics speaks of multi-universes. They are talking that they believe there is at least 11 different universes now, with a myriad of existences, timelines, dimensions within each universe. So then again, now science is supporting that, yeah, there is many rooms in that house. So the Bible also says the kingdom of heaven is within you, not above you. It doesn't say anywhere in there that it is above you. So then, if we talk about that, quantum mechanics says the same thing. We are part of everything there is. We are connected to everything there is, and it comes through our mind to be projected into our existence so we can experience it. Now, that gets a little complicated. But also remember the other one. It says, you are gods. It says right there in the Bible too. Look in Psalms 82:6. It says right there. What does gods do? They create. Gods create. We are creator gods in a way because we create in our existence both on the physical level, and we create from inspiration coming from beyond the physical. And we bring it into the physical and create it here for us so we can experience it in the physical existence. So think about that. So could it be that we are spiritual beings with an unlimited creative power that creates this whole universe around us as we see it and experience it, so we can live in it and have experiences, physical experiences for the higher self or the spirit or soul or whatever you would call it out there, to have the experience of a physical existence. Think of it, a soul or a spirit doesn't have physical hands and feet. We have to do that, run around and have these experiences so spirit or the soul can learn from what we do and what we experience. And since the soul is an individualized spark of life, given temporary individualized sensation from the universe's own mind. So we are connected all the way through this. So with other words, the universal mind learns from what the soul experiences through us. Now, it doesn't talk about that in any of the spiritual books that I've read, but this is what science is coming up with. And in concept, they are confirming what they talk about in some of those spiritual books. Now, quantum mechanics and neuroscience also, they talk about everything around you is created by consciousness. So in the Bible, they talk about the mind of God talking to us. So the universal mind or the universal consciousness speaks to us and tell us to do things or request that we do things or create things for us. And also, the Bible talks about prayer because it works. And a lot of people say, yeah, well, that's good. I'm glad for you because none of my prayers work. Well, maybe that's what you expect and that's what you get. Quantum mechanics and neuroscience, they have proven that it works. See, we have a different understanding now on how all of this works because, well, in the book that I wrote about spiritual science, higher conscious thinking, and how to access the universal consciousness, I go deeply into how to set yourself up, as well as going through with these kinds of, I call them manifestations instead of prayer, because prayer is always kind of, it's given kind of a bad rap out there because the world as we know it in general doesn't really look at it like very serious. So we call it manifestations. It's a little better understood in science and among people. But look at, there's another book also, it's called Spontaneous Evolution by Dr. Bruce Lipton. They explain how neuroscience and quantum mechanics prove that prayer works when it is done right. And it is not, prayer is not done by words. There's a special language. It's a spiritual language. At least I call it a spiritual language. And it creates change in the unified field that create everything around us. And this field create healing manifestations. And in fact, Greg Braden, he went to India up in the Himalayas and he visited a monastery and he asked the abbot of the monastery, that's the head of the monastery, he asked him, when you are doing what you do with your chants, how do you do this prayer? And the abbot told him, you have not seen my prayer, or our prayer, because prayers cannot be seen. What we do in our chants, we set up the vibration and the mindset in, we set up our mind so that we get the feeling that creates the prayer or manifestations. I think that was poorly represented, but that was basically what he said. And on there also, I saw a video here by YouTube. In fact, I also placed that video on our Patreon page, the Mastermind Connection. You can go there on Patreon, and you can, as a member, you can see that video where there was somebody at the medicineless hospital in China, in Peking, I guess it was back then, but now it's Beijing. And they cured a fist-like, a small fist-like tumor on a bladder in 3 minutes. You have a split screen on the screen. On the left, there was a picture of the tumor sitting there. And on the right side, there were the live shot of the sonic picture of the tumor as the three, they were spiritual teachers, I suppose. I believe they were Qigong. And they were chanting that it is healed, because they developed a feeling of the tumor being gone. And we could see on the screen the tumor disappearing into nothing in 3 minutes. It wasn't even 3 minutes. Now that is powerful, and that is healing, when we have developed the feeling, the visualized image of it, the intention of it being done. And there's several other things in there in that spiritual language, which I also explain in my book. And what is very important for healing is the strong feeling of love and compassion. It changes the field we are in, so we can create everything we want in that field that will again manifest itself in our reality. See, there is also a doctor, Dr. Larry Dossey. He wrote a book, Healing Words and Prayer is Good Medicine. Now, his research that dives into neuroscience and supported by quantum mechanics, he studied 60 scientific studies that prove without a shadow of doubt that prayer works when it comes to healing. And in many of them, they took double-blind studies. They had one group over here that got no treatment whatsoever, up and beyond whatever that they wanted to do. And then there was another group that they did whatever they wanted to do and also added prayer to it. And they said a huge decrease in the size of the tumor by the ones that had been prayed over. So there's also a Dr. Leonard Laskov. He did some studies, and he found that the people that was prayed over, they had a 39% decrease in the size of tumors just by prayer alone, by someone sending love to them. And is also these feelings of love, they were added to by visualized images of the organ being perfectly healthy. The increase of healing doubled. So yes, it works. The holy books are correct on that. It does work. See, when it comes to prayer, we don't get what we want. We get according to what we are. And see, prayer is not something we do. It is something we are. And that was something that there was a rainmaker that was made. He was asked about, how do you create rain? And he says, I don't create rain. He says, the Great Spirit creates the rain. But he says, I ask for it by what I am. And what he explained how he did that, he says that I see myself, I feel myself, I visualize myself standing in the mud, rain coming down, is dripping down my face. I feel gratitude for the rain, for all the good that is doing to the crops, to the land, to the people. That feeling created the rain. And this was one of the best rainmakers. When he went and did something, there were usually rain. So when it comes to prayer, it's kind of, a lot of people, they look at that like something that, yeah, that's something that religious people do. I don't need to. Well, maybe you should start thinking about it, because the church never teaches how prayer is done. Of course, we can wonder why, right? What would happen to the church if you engaged in prayer and you got everything you asked for, what would you need the church for? And you know, churches are organized like government. There is somebody at the top dictating to everybody else, and they want financial support. They have rigid rules that you have to comply with, otherwise they kick you out. Well, at least the Christians. And well, Muslims too. They don't like you if you don't believe in what they're talking about. So what would happen if we didn't need churches? Well, we go directly to the source. They would lose their power, they would lose their funding, and everything else will go to pot for them. So obviously, even if they knew how to do it, they wouldn't tell you. So, well, very few people actually teach how to do prayer, or we should call it manifestations. Now, the principles taught through law of attraction, that works very well. You could go to Broadcast Team Alpha again and check out the videos that we've done, some, quite a few of them actually, both Nori and I. And the only one that I can find in history that really taught how to do prayer was Moses. And that was 2,600 years ago. Wow, that's a long time. And nobody figured it out since then. Well, the thing is that Moses is contributed to have written 12 books. I have 10 of them on the shelf somewhere. And my old Bible back in Europe had the first, second, and the third book of Moses in the Bible. Of course, that was taken away because there was too many interesting stuff in there. Now, I found something in, I think there was the 9th book of Moses. It may have been the 6th, but I think it was the 9th, where he talked about how to pray and get results every time. See, that is something that is a totally unknown concept. Why would anybody expect results every time? Well, why not? If you expect it, you have more of a chance to have it. It's kind of like when you go to Amazon, you're going to buy something, you order it, you pay for it. Do you call back the day after and say, did you get my order? And the 3rd day, 4th day, if you didn't get it, where's my order? Did you get it? No, when you order something, you expect it to arrive, and it arrives. Try the same thing with manifestations and prayer too. Because once you put the prayer in, the request for the manifestation of certain things in your life, or the community, or the country, or the world, expect it. Don't take no for an answer. Now, Moses talked about this in a very eloquent way, and I wrote this down because I want to make sure I get it right for you. First of all, I want to ask, where does prayers go? They don't stay in the physical. They leave the physical, go into the field, or the spiritual, or the higher vibrations where thoughts and images and vibration and love is received. What is that? You could say that's the carrier wave. And then what you want to have happen is like it's imposed on the carrier wave, and it looks around into the field somewhere and find a matching vibration of visual images or vibration or love or whatever you're looking for. When it finds the vibration, then it starts bringing it back. And there's a process to get it induced into the physical world, because we're kind of solid here, so it's not doesn't normally just show up. It can, but there's a little bit of a process to move it into the physical, and that could take a little bit of time. Time is always the wild card. And Moses talked about the fact that when you ask God for something, do not be a beggar. That goes back to calling Amazon the day after and says, did you get my order? No, we can expect it. Expect it. And also pray for more than 3 people, because the universe and the universal consciousness is not a selfish thing. It's a giving thing and a creation for not just you. So at least 3 people. There's something about that in universal law. And he also talked about be single-minded of focus. In other words, when you pray for something, don't mix it up with 14 other things. The universe gets confused. There's too many different energies that goes out there. Be single-mindedness of focus. And then he says, I'm going to read this. He says, do not flaunt your express your prayers among people who mock you. With other words, if you are in a group of people that don't believe in this at all, maybe you're better off not even talking about it, because they're going to make fun of you possibly, or they're going to poo-poo it, and it will decrease your effectiveness because of your belief possibly, or your energy directed towards fulfillment of prayer. He also talked about go in your chamber. That don't mean get in a closet and close the door. It means go within where the mind is. That is here and here. It's a combination of the heart and the head and the brain. So go within. And that means go within, be still, and put your request in. Then he says, know what you want. So if you want nothing, then what's the universe going to do? Sometimes nothing. Or what is best for you at the time. I know there is some contentions on this, because there is books out there and there's people that talk about live in the now. Don't ask the universe for anything, because it will supply you with what you need. And that's true. It will. So if you are perfectly happy with everything you have, stay in the now, because it is there for you to enjoy. If you are missing something, chances are that you may want to ask. My mom had a saying that was kind of funny. She used it on me quite a bit. She said, beggars may not get much, but the one that never asks will get nothing. Maybe there's something to that also when it comes to the spiritual arena. If you don't ask for something, why would you get it? Think on that. And also know it's got to be for the highest good. Especially if you want something for someone else, you should either have their permission to ask for it for them, or like somebody say, pray for me. Well, that's fine. Then we have the permission to do. But it also has to be for the highest good. If somebody wants you to pray for them, and they ask for something you know is not really very good, or maybe not for their best good, you suspect it probably will not come out good for them, maybe you should also add to for the best of all concerned. Because then what you ask for will be for the best of all concerned, so it would not hurt them. It may not be a positive experience, but good results will arise from it. I have had many negative experiences that I had a phenomenal learning lesson from it, and a lot of good things happen from that. And then Moses says, see it in your heart. And we got to remember, back 2,600 years ago, the word mind and heart was the same word. So when he said, see it in your heart, that means visualize it, know what it is, feel it, love it. Because that's what the heart does. It creates feelings. And then he says, speak it aloud with emotion so the tears flow. That is pure feeling. Speak it aloud. I have not necessarily done much of that, but there is a point to it. Because we are never alone. There are other entities around us. Some of them are there for our benefit. That could be spiritual guides, disembodied entities that have our best interest at heart. Someone on site that may be able to observe your words as well as your feeling. Most higher spiritual entities are very perceptive when it comes to telepathy, visualized images. They may not see, they may not see the image itself of what you visualize, but they feel the vibration of it, which is enough to reach into the quantum. I see people in the chat room, they're agreeing with me. That's good. I always like somebody agreeing. And then Moses says, no, it is yours. In other words, don't waffle on it. When you put in your request, expect it to happen. And that is something that doubt, oh gosh, that thing just keeps sneaking up on us. You put in your request and you think like, well, I haven't had any of that before. Why should it happen now? But it does. Without asking, you may not get anything. So, and that's why I have been touting meditation for decades, because the gate to higher consciousness, both in the so-called holy books as well as in neuroscience and in quantum mechanics, they talk about going within quiet the mind, so you open up the channel into the universal mind where you can have a two-way flow of information coming in through the pituitary, or actually it could be coming in through the heart. That I'm not so sure of, but I know the pituitary is the gate in and out of spiritual attachments and channels. So once that comes in, it goes through the superconscious mind into the subconscious mind and come up into conscious understanding, and it's usually very quick. The conscious mind will see it as a flash of a thought, and then it's gone. So we have to be aware of these things. If you get a brilliant idea, notice it. Maybe write it down. Or have one of the things that I do. I got Terry a little tape recorder, that dates me, a voice recorder with me. So I talk it in on that one and stick it in my pocket. And then a day or so later, I run the recording and I thought, oh, that's right. That was a good idea. I should do something with that. Because these inspirations, they come fast, they pass through your mind fast, and they're gone fast. So remember, your mind can be going 90 miles an hour. Remember, my mind is going 400 to 500 miles an hour. Remember, I was a pilot. So my mind, we are trained to think about 5 to 10 miles ahead of the airplane. What's happening at that intersection, and we plan for it when we get there. We should do the same thing in our daily life. We should plan ahead and incorporate all the ideas into that plan. But do it through meditation. That's your gate to higher consciousness. And in meditation, you develop a lot of alpha brainwave pattern where you slow the mind down. You get into the alpha brainwave bottom, like 7 cycles per second. And after a while, you'll be able to take it below that into theta. And that's where the magic happens. When you're down into the theta, that's where everything around you disappears. It goes away. And you can then, before you get to that point, communicate to the mind what you want to have happen, and then go into theta. Because your thoughts and visual images and your emotion and the feeling and the love that you develop as a package, place it in the mind or in the heart, create it here and then bring it up here. It stays there for a little while until you get into the theta, and it goes out into the universal mind, looking around for a match of vibration and start bringing things back. See, prayer is based on universal law. So don't change the rules. Moses knew it 2,600 years ago. Well, there's some questions about that date, but either way, it was known in the past, and then it went away because of religion. And also, what we pray for, we get on the basis of what we are, not what we want. It is what we are. We have to raise our own vibration to match what we ask for. That's at least when it works the best. If we are a total scoundrel, drug addict, think about crime all the time, what can we expect in our life? We hang around with people like that. We are going to become like the people we associate with and the thoughts we allow to dwell in our mind the most. So we should think about that. Maybe we need to clean our neighborhood a little bit. Get some new friends. Reach into the, okay, how should I say this so it's diplomatic? Try to find people to hang out with and associate with at your own level of consciousness or above. It will bring you up every time, because there is some of us, including myself, that need to disassociate with some of the people I associate with. That's a tough one to do. And yeah, it's a tough one to do, because whatever we associate with at a lower vibration of consciousness than what we are will hold us back. And when we visualize things that we want in our environment, in our life, do it in colorful images. Now, that's not easy. When you start visualizing in color, you can see for a moment, when you close your eyes and try to visualize something, you can see for a moment the color of something, and then it fades away. The more you practice, and it don't take long to just get to do, actually to visualize color while you are in that meditative state, then it gets more effective. So I would say there is one thing everybody should consider, and that is do something every day to further your spiritual growth. If you're 9 to 5ing it right now, it's hard to do. That's why I've been talking about the 3-minute meditation. There's a saying out there that says that everybody should meditate for 20 minutes. Boy, that's what I get for not turning the phone off. Okay. Everybody should meditate for 20 minutes a day. And then it goes, if you do not have time to do that, you need to meditate an hour. And if we don't have time to do that, then I do this all the time. 3-minute meditation. I get into that state of mind, lower my brainwave pattern, close the mind down for about 3 minutes or so. Sometimes I lose the time and I wake up 10 minutes, 15 minutes later. But it exercises the channel from the conscious mind in through the subconscious mind, through the superconscious mind, to the universal mind. When you exercise the channel, it's just like exercising a muscle. It gets stronger and stronger the more you do. 3-minute meditation don't take much. You can do that. So just do that. I have a little sticker on the screen on my computer. It says, "Do it now." And to me, that means, oh, 3 minutes meditation. And also that means something else too, a small exercise program that I do sitting down just while to induce strength and so on. So it takes 3 to 4 minutes. You do that every day. After a while, you're going to get really good at this. And when you get good at meditation, closing the mind down, then there are some things that I talk about in my book here, where I actually teach you how to use your mind in ways that you normally would think would be impossible. And I also tell people that if you read the book 3 times, we need to talk, because then you may be ready for stage 2. That deals with getting into that meditative state, creating something and making it happen. Because you can reach into different parts of the universal mind where things are that you want. You know, you don't go to the grocery store to buy a car. You get the hint? There are places and vibrations within the unified field or the universal mind where what you're looking for is not there. You can direct it more. This is not spoken of a lot, but if you read that book, you'll see it. And the second time you see more, and the third time you will get a whole different understanding of the universe, because the book is written on several different levels of consciousness. And when we ask for something, I have heard people say, oh, okay, I don't know how much time I have left here, but let me know when the time comes. There are some people that say, well, if we pray for something and it is not for us to have, would we interfere with the universal plan for our life? Or especially if we pray for someone else. So if we try to manifest something in someone else's life, even with their permission, would we interfere with the master plan for the life? Well, if we use the term for the good of all concerned at the end of what we are asking for, our slate is clean. It is up to the universe to know what is best for that master plan governing that person's life.
You got about 8 minutes left, Aggie, and there's 2 questions here from the people in the audience, just to let you know.
Okay, well, I could give it a couple of minutes, and then I'll take some questions. And remember, this is not your doing. If you ask for something for someone else, for the good of all concerned, it is the universal mind that creates in that person's life that is best for them according to their master plan, so it does not interfere with their existence or shorten out anything that was planned for them. And another thing is that prayer in groups are more effective because they create a mastermind. That's why going to church, I haven't done a lot of that because I don't feel I need to, but it's a good place to go. Because even though you may not necessarily hear the words much, but it's a lot of good people going there. And it's a good place to sit and meditate. So you can think about that. And also, Nori and I have, Nori Love and I, we have created this mastermind group that we have done some incredible things by creating both for people, for the world, and as well for ourselves. And if you want to be part of that, want to come and check out the mastermind, it's kind of like a spiritual think tank where we make things happen. You can send us an email to themastermindconnection@gmail.com. themastermindconnection@gmail.com. And also broadcast team alpha.com. It is the website where we have a lot of videos, and also on YouTube with the same name. And we have a picture gallery, about 5,000 unbelievable pictures of things that should not exist, but does. It has NASA prints of pyramids on the moon, people walking on the moon. Of course, these, they disappeared, and decades later they show up because of the leaks and stuff. So yeah, it's all there. And And also, I would show off the book again. You know, I have no shame, so I'm going to show off the book again. Spiritual Science, Higher Conscious Thinking, and How to Access the Universal Consciousness. And what I do there, I teach you how to use your mind in ways that will benefit you an awful lot. And you can go to Amazon and put my name in or that title in and read about all the subjects that is in the book. There is about 60 some different subjects that are out to explain the universe and our place in it and what we can do to improve our lives and how to use the mind. So yeah, maybe we should take some questions. I'm all ears of what people would want to know.
Excellent, excellent, Aggie. And just I have to say that was an amazing presentation. I've talked to you, you've come on my show, Full Spectrum Universe. I've gone to Broadcast Team Alpha, and we've even done events together. And every time you say what you're saying about the consciousness, every time there's this profound moment where I feel like my ears perk up, and then all of a sudden I have to like dig deeper and get to the fundamentals. And when I picked up your book, it changed the way that I experienced internally myself within my own consciousness. And that was one of the highlights for me, and how to manifest and really experience it. You know, that you can talk about it, learn about it, but really experiencing it is something a little bit different. It's in a wild thing. So let's go to some of the questions we have here. And one of the questions from Raya is, how can we transform our life into a living meditation?
A living meditation?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can meditate walking down the street. And you can too. But you're still aware of things around you. But that is, be at peace. If you have people around you that is disrupting, it's tough to create peace. But when you have peace, you lower your brainwave pattern and you create that harmony with peace and the universe in here. That comes by itself once you lower the brainwave pattern, because it brings you closer to the universal vibrations. I would say start with meditation. Start with 3 minutes. 3 or 4 times a day, and then the 20 minutes. I would say meditation is your gate to higher consciousness again. So just start meditating and then know what you want and start asking.
Excellent advice. Excellent advice. We have some more questions here. It says, how do you know what is for you or not in this life?
Well, most of the time we don't even know. And sometimes it's good to not know. Boy, oh boy, I'm glad I didn't know some of the stuff that happened to me. But I love surprises, but we can know if we listen to that little voice in the back of our head. When we really want something, oh God, I want to do that. Take the time to listen. Say, okay, is this for me? You can do that by using a pendulum. I do that once in a while. I'm not as good as I used to be with that. Or listen to the voice in the back of your head when you ask, is this for my highest good? And then go into meditation. And you get an answer. It could be a yay or a nay. When you get a nay, no, not for you, don't second question it. You could go back and say, well, yeah, but I really want that. Listen. It's kind of like the guy that was mountain climbing and he fell and he just sliding down and he got the branch by his hand. And he was just hanging there and looking down. And, oh, that don't look good at all. 400 foot down there. So he said, I haven't prayed much, but maybe this is the time to start. So he says, God, save me. And he was listening, nothing. And then he heard this rumbling voice up there. let go the branch. They looked up, he looked down, didn't like what he saw down below him, so he looked up again and said, anybody else up there? That's what we don't want to do. Listen.
That's incredible. The next question we have is, how can you interact with the universe or your spirit guide, etc.?
First of all, know they're there. If you ignore them, they may not communicate because they know you ignore them anyway. But know they're there. Expect them to be there. Start talking to them. Loud if you like, because there are some spirit guides that may not be telepathic enough to actually be able to understand what you think. They may see what you're doing and try to guide you in certain directions that way. Also, leave them messages, write messages for them. That's how you communicate with dead ones. They're not really dead, they're more alive than you are, but leave them messages. But also, they are outside of the physical. So remember, what they see is like looking in the mirror. So write your messages backwards. Then they can read them better. If you really want to communicate with the departed ones, go to YouTube and put in the search bar, the Tesla Spirit Radio. It's got 14 different parts to it. And you can make one of those if you understand a little bit about electronics. If you don't know nothing about electronics and you want to have one to communicate with the spirit world, have a friend that knows how to do it, put together two, one for you and one for him, and he's going to love you for it. Because when you turn that thing on, you can talk with the spirit world. It works. The YouTube is full of those things. Well, not full, but they are quite a few of them that you can hear the spirit talking and you can communicate back and forth. So that's just one way.
Excellent, excellent. So we have another question. It says, I meditate daily for an hour or so and do receive a word or a picture of something, but not actually a conversation / telepathy. What could be the reason?
Well, have you requested a conversation? Ask. Just if you sit there and think of nothing and no questions, no requests, no expectations, maybe a word is all you get. Decide before you enter meditation what the results should be. Ask for something to happen. Or you could say, speak to me in dreams. Then they might do that. Or you could say, communicate with me. Then they can pick the way that it works. They can try several different ways to be able to communicate with you, and you may be able to communicate. That could be through thought transference, or I have once in a while voices that tells me things. There are ways to do this. I talk about that in the book too.
I know that. I know that for sure. And like I was talking about before is the internalization. And sometimes one of the hardest things for people to do is to just quiet the mind and be in that present. Do you have any advice for the people on ways to maybe effectively get to that place a little bit easier, a little bit faster?
Absolutely. There is some tricks to it. Hardly anybody talks about this, but first of all, be by yourself. Unless you are in a group that all meditate at the same time. Now, that can be powerful. But if you are by yourself, turn off the radio, shut off the computer, and be by yourself. Turn the phone off. I learned that experience here about 2 minutes ago. Just be by yourself. Expect a good result of what you're doing. And then there is this trick to dull the mind. Look straight ahead at the wall. Find a spot on the wall. And then cross your eyes just a little bit. So now you got 2 spots on the wall. When you do that, now don't cross the mind so much that it hurts, but just a little bit. So you got 2 spots. Now the mind is busy doing something that it doesn't take thought to do, and it dulls. Everything goes away. In fact, you can try that right now, where you sit for the next 5 seconds. Just look at the wall, cross your eyes a little bit, and then let go. Did you notice everything went away? It will do that, and it'll, as long as your eyes are crossed, and then close your eyes and keep your eyes crossed a little bit, everything goes away. You dive down into that bottom of the alpha range of the brainwave pattern.
You know, another thing that helped me too is not just turning those devices off, but getting away from them completely. Because sometimes even while off, they give off a frequency that sort of, I don't know how to explain it. It almost like draws you to it a little bit. It's almost right there with you. And, you know, and Aggie, I just want to say, brother, it's always a pleasure talking to you. I thank you so much for coming through. And I always get a great download from you, man. And I appreciate you and I love you, brother.
Well, thank you very much for saying that. I sure appreciate being here. I always have fun doing these kinds of things. Besides, I never met a microphone I didn't like, you know, so I'm here.
I'm the same way. So you guys, just again, you can find Aggie on Broadcast Team Alpha on YouTube. And we have broadcastteamalpha.com, right? Go up and pick his books up. And I'm going to relinquish the stage to Neil after we say goodbye to Aggie. So thank you, Aggie. We're going to get to the next speaker. Or actually, I think we're going to be, there's some musical interlude next, which is going to be absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And let's keep Aggie on for a second, because
sure.
I want to show an event the second event that Aggie, myself, and Laura Eisenhower is producing together. So I want to show that. And I think a good segue into the next person would be if you could share what you're going to talk on at that summit, Aggie.
Yes.
All right,
yes.
So let's do this. So this is the second production with tri-production, a term that I just recently coined, with Laura, Aggie, and myself. This is called Activating Conscious Evolution. It's a 2-day event. Do you want to just, Aggie, really quick, tell us the speakers and then talk about what you're going to share?
Yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about astral travel and leaving the body, going out and seeing, observing, learning, associating, and actually communicating with disembodied spirits. Well, I used disembodied, not necessarily true. Some of them never had a body, but there is things out there that you can see and communicate with, and the places you can go and see and observe. And I don't talk a lot about this normally, but you actually can do this. It's not that hard to learn. Astral travel is a very real concept. And once you get out there, it is an exhilarating experience. And there is a good way to do it. I'm going to talk about how to do it. And it's going to be a pretty quick course. And if you really want to learn astral travel, go to Broadcast Team Alpha, check under classes, and on and also as a member of the Mastermind Connection, you can access there's 4 classes and 1 hour each that teach you all the environment, what you're getting into, how to do it, and what to expect, and how to go about doing this. And this is what I'm going to talk about on this conference. It's going to be shortened down a little bit, but it's going to be right there, and you're going to see what you can do.
Beautiful. I'll go ahead and share that in all the platforms right now. And Rob, did you want to close out with Aggie? Say thanks, bye, and jump back on if you want.
Yeah, sure, sure. Like I said, Aggie, it's always a pleasure, and the downloads you give to people are just truly incredible. So keep up the good work, brother, because we need more people like you out there blazing the trail for people like myself, and
Mm.
and also Neil. I know I didn't say it before, but I really appreciate you letting me be here, and I'm loving the friendship that we are cultivating and the spaces that we are creating together. I think it's truly exceptional. And I have such love, admiration, and appreciation for you as well in putting these events together, because you're showing people like me how to do this as well and get that message
Mhm.
out to so many more people that we can, everybody can touch everybody if we all think about it together, right?
Mhm. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Aggie. Thank you, Rob. And
Thank you,
it's
thank you, and live long and prosper.
thank you. Appreciate you.